Jengo, now a young man of 16, adjusted his spear as he stepped lightly through the grass. His movements were silent, calculated, and purposeful, a result of years of rigorous training under the guidance of his father, Toba, the warrior king of their tribe. Jengo had grown tall and strong, his shoulders broad and his posture straight. But Jengo didn't want to live only in the shadow of his parents. He wanted to prove himself as a true warrior, capable of protecting his people. On this particular morning, Jengo was alone, tracking a herd of wildebeests. He had been tracking for hours, his stomach growling from hunger, but he refused to give up. His heartbeat quickened as he raised his spear, targeting the largest wildebeest. With a sharp inhale, he threw the spear with precision, striking the animal in its side. Jengo stood over it, his chest heaving from exertion. He murmured a prayer of gratitude, honoring the spirit of the animal for its sacrifice. But just as he began to prepare the kill, a sound caught his attention. Hoofbeats, distant but growing louder. Jengo climbed a nearby rock for a better view. His sharp eyes scanned the horizon, and what he saw made his blood run cold. A rival tribe was charging toward his village, their warriors armed with spears and shields. There were dozens of them, their cries echoing across the plains. He grabbed his spear and ran back toward the village as fast as his legs could carry him. The landscape blurred around him. When he reached the village, he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Warriors, prepare yourselves. The enemy is coming." The alarm spread like wildfire. Women gathered the children and the elderly, ushering them into the safest huts. Men armed themselves with spears and shields, their faces set with determination. Toba emerged from the king's hut, his regal presence commanding immediate attention. Toba placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You've done well, my son. Now stand with me. This is your moment." Jengo nodded, swallowing his fear. He watched as his father quickly organized the warriors, assigning positions and strategies. Though Toba was now a king, he had never abandoned his warrior instincts. The rival tribe arrived soon after, their war cries growing louder as they charged. Toba stood at the front of the Maasai line, his spear raised high. "Hold the line," he shouted. "We fight for our families, for our land, for our future." Amid the chaos, Jengo noticed a massive man cutting through the Maasai line. The warrior was twice Jengo's size, his muscles rippling, his face marked with scars that spoke of countless battles. He carried a large spear and moved with brutal efficiency, taking down one Maasai warrior after another. Jengo knew he had to act. Summoning all his courage, he charged toward the man, dodging an incoming strike and countering with a swift jab of his spear. The large warrior turned to face him, his eyes narrowing as he assessed his young opponent. "You're brave, boy," the man said, his voice deep and mocking. "But bravery won't save you." "We'll see about that," Jengo replied, his voice steady despite the tension. The two circled each other, their movements deliberate. Jengo knew he couldn't match the man's strength, so he relied on his speed and agility. He ducked and dodged, landing quick strikes that slowly wore the man down. The fight seemed to last forever, but Jengo's patience paid off. With a final, well-aimed thrust, he struck the man in his side, bringing him to his knees. The rival tribe began to retreat, their morale shattered by the loss of their strongest warrior. The Maasai cheered as their enemies fled, their cries of victory echoing across the plains. When the dust settled, the village gathered to assess the damage. Though they had lost some warriors, the Maasai had defended their home. Toba stood before his people, his voice carrying the weight of their shared triumph and loss. "We have fought bravely today," he said. "We have protected our home and our families. And today we honor the courage of one among us who stood as a true warrior." Toba turned to Jengo, his face filled with pride. "My son, you have shown strength, wisdom, and heart. Today you have proven that you are not just my son. You are a hero of the Maasai." The crowd erupted in cheers, chanting Jengo's name. The young warrior stood humbly, his face flushed with emotion. He felt the weight of their admiration, but he also felt a deep sense of responsibility. This was not the end of his journey. It was only the beginning. In the days that followed, Jengo continued to train, his resolve stronger than ever. He spent time with the younger boys, teaching them what he had learned. He also sat with the elders, listening to their stories and gaining wisdom. His bond with his siblings deepened as they looked up to him with newfound admiration. One evening, as the sun set over the plains, Jengo sat with Toba under the stars. The two talked about the battle, about life, and about the future. "You've done well, Jengo," Toba said, his voice filled with pride. "But remember, a true warrior's journey is never over. You must continue to grow, to learn, and to protect those you love." Jengo nodded, his heart swelling with determination. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready. He was a warrior, a protector, and a son of the Maasai, and he would honor that legacy every day of his life.